one he had mandated to restore hope and change for Liberians. For many Liberians, especially the youth, he represented the possibility of a brighter future. Unfortunately, these last 5 years have seen a rapid decline in almost all aspects of national life.
Yeah, it's about King Kwa the boss poor, a part of it, Yemen.
Le country is poor. Le country is poor. Le country is poor. Le country is poor.
Le country is poor. I come here with face. Le country is poor. I come here with face. Le country is poor. I come here with face. Le country is poor. I come here with face. Le country is poor. I come here with face. Le country is poor. I come here with face. Le country is poor. I come here with face. Le country is poor. I come here with face.
Change your song, brother, change your song. Change your song, brother, change your song. No pas change their song, pas so change their song. Ni ma change their song, no go change their song. Change your song, brother, change your song. Change your song, brother, change your song. Ni ma change their song, no pas change their song, pas so change their song, no go change their song.
The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face.
Mais à travers le gros, le honorable Messia, elle est sans la pique pour me, le son américain. I guess he ma oma tele ina la basu, wale pa beti le la ba ina kosu. Blue people waiting, jado welcome you. About people second way, jado take you. We're gonna call away, not about barrel. Oh, welcome, come here, you are welcome. Oh.
The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. We work on you, mess, we work on you. We work on you, mess, we work on you. I want people work on you. People work on you. I want people work on you. I want people work on you. We work on you, mess, we work on you. We work on you, mess, we work on you. And then when I work on you, Raya work on you. When I work on you, if I work on you. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. The country is poor. I come here with face. Yeah. Stand on Nivea. Yeah, man. Anthony Abwellen. Écoute the bailli. Spoke now. FIW.
Well, let me say welcome to another edition of the program, The Bottom Line. In fact, this is not just another edition, but a very, very important and special edition. And we'll tell you the reason why we have branded it the special edition. But tonight we're going to have a wonderful time. I have with me a house full of guest panelists for the matter. We have Jemima Kamara from the UK, Far from Sweden, and Marie Masoko will be joining us. She's also from the UK, and I'm from Norway. Paul the Lord is there in Liberia, but tonight Paul is going to be doing some technical things in the background, and he may appear subsequently while the program is on. And so if you're joining us for the first time, we'd like to say welcome to you. And I promise you that we will tell you the reason why we call this program, this edition, the first day of August 2023. And we call this program a a special edition. And I'm getting a bit nervous. The reason why we call it a special edition. But Jima, I see our guest in the background, so just flash that flyer so we can comment on it a little bit. Jima, will you want to take us through on that flyer?
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, if you just join us across the globe through the radio line, through Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are, we have our special guest, is Honorable Alexander Benedict Cummings will be our guest tonight. That's the man, the bigger fish in the house tonight. And we all are excited. We've been doing it for how many years now, trying to put CPP on the agenda and also telling the fellows of Mr. Cummings who he is and as a person. Tonight, he's with us as a person. We are excited. I think everybody, we got a full house tonight to make sure he gave him the room, the opportunity to tell us what he has for us in Liberia. If you look at our topic tonight, it's like delving into CPP stance on pressing issues facing Liberia. So the honorable man is in the house tonight, the big fish in the house tonight. I think we are lucky we caught a fish, a big one. So we are happy tonight to be here. You can see him, I'm beaming with a smile. And see, I know my colleagues are also happy. All the questions we have, but we have 1 hour, 30 minutes. We'll be live on the radio in Liberia also. That'll be an FM, Red Power FM 100.3 tonight. And we may ask for at least 3 questions to ask our guests. But anyway, let me keep it before I gave you some. I don't want to take too much of your time. But this is it. Just stay tuned for the 1 hour, 30 minutes. We'll be having Mr. Cummings with us, and you'll be telling us what you think about Liberia, what he has for Liberia. That's it for you guys. You're muted, Info.
You want to chime in? Ma, I think you're muted, or you don't hear me?
Yeah. Greetings to our Liberian brothers and sisters, or Liberians everywhere, and welcome to the bottom line. And greetings to my fellow panelists. And I hope you guys having a wonderful time, or be having a wonderful time whatsoever you are.
Sure, I guess we all are having a wonderful time. This is summertime, so but without any waste of time, time is very important. So let's welcome. Mary, will you want to go in the background small while you adjust your camera? Okay, let's welcome our guest, Mr. Alexander Benedict Cummings. But tonight we'll be referring to you as the SB. So in between, we'll say Mr. Cummings, we'll say the SB, they will say the Standard Bearer. So we hope that you feel comfortable with all of the titles or nomenclatures we give you tonight. We want to say welcome to you. This is the Bottom Line, the program that discusses issues about Liberia, and especially during this political era. So we like my colleague said, we've been fighting hard to get you, and I believe in the Bible, and the Bible said there's time for everything. I think this was the time, this first day of August 2023, and that's a good start. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Linford. Good to be with all of you. Jamil, Mark, my pleasure to be with you. And it shouldn't be that difficult to get me on your platform, but anyway, we're here now, and I should say God time is the best time, and I'm looking forward to our conversation this evening.
Okay, we have 1.5 hours to be here. We don't want to waste any second of those hours. So let me just start by saying the political season is here. Campaign will officially start on the 5th of this month, which I guess is on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. And the CPP is one of the major contenders in these elections, and you are the Standard Bearer. How prepared is the CPP to get the campaign going?
We are very prepared to make our case to the Liberian people, Linford, to give us a chance to serve them. We will be traveling the length and breadth of Liberia. I want to remind all of you and the Liberian people that campaign is not just an event. It's not just one day. We have been making the case to our country, to our people for a while. August 5th, Saturday, you're correct, Linford, is the official launch date. But it's one of 60 plus days that we have the chance to make the case to Liberian people. So Councillor Bromsky and I will be traveling the length and breadth of Liberia.
to make our case to our people, to give us the chance to serve them. So we are prepared, we are ready, we are confident that as we make our case, we will be successful come October 10th, 2023.
Guys, Jima,
Yeah, just so before we go on, I would just like to remind our listeners we are live on a Rare Power 100.3 FM base in Rare Hill. That's in District 17, Monrovia. And that's at the background, that's Moses Collins at control. Moses, are you set? Moses, if you're hearing us, are you set? Right. Okay. I just want to take you out of Mr. Cummings, I just want to take you out of the box.
Good evening, Jamal. I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, okay. Just we have our guest.
You hearing me, Jamal?
You are hearing me loud and clear. Just okay. We hear you loud and clear, Moses.
Okay. I'm just making some adjustment, trying to get things straight up.
Yeah, just stay in control now. Right. Mr. Cummings, if you mind, I just want to take you out of the box from the common questions you normally have from like journalists. If you hear me very clear here, my question goes to Liberian living outside Liberia. That's the Liberian diaspora. The question will be like, what strategy will you implement to ensure the protection and the welfare of diaspora Liberians, especially in countries where they face discrimination and human rights challenges, if you do take over as the president of the country?
Yeah, look, we want to make sure that our citizens are treated with dignity, with respect, no matter where they live. Part of how we do that is, how people think about us in Liberia, how we conduct the affairs of state, how we present ourselves, the environment we create for ourselves and for our people, will reflect on how people treat us anywhere around the world. But we will insist that our people are treated again with respect, with dignity. We want to make sure our people are in any country that are in the world legally, and that they are following the laws of the countries where they reside. And again, then we will insist that they're treated with fairness, with dignity, with the rights of the citizenship of Liberia. And part of that will be how we conduct ourselves globally, internationally, and of course within Liberia. You're muted, Jamel.
We have a video. I want you to just 2 seconds of the video. I want you to. It's a came from Mark. Mark has a question. I'll follow up with this video. Just 2 seconds. It came. We want you to play the video, and you ask a question to that video, if you mind. Just give it 2 seconds. We'll play that video so you see. If you answer to the, there's a video here that we want you to watch. Just give me a second. Okay. Right, I think we're having some technical issue, but in the meantime, I'm trying to put hold on the video. Yeah, it's still a challenge too. Okay. Yeah, okay, 1 second.
And when we were at the Russia-Africa Summit in St. Petersburg just now, all of us collectively said that we now must decisively say that we are no longer going to be willing to export ore, rocks, sand, and dust. We want to export finished products from our continent. Now, when we initially said we want beneficiation of our minerals, many people thought we were mad or crazy. Now, we want to ensure that this becomes a reality, because when you export raw materials, the value that you get is a fraction of what you get when you export real finished products. When you export iron ore, all you are really doing is to export rock and dust and soil. But what we want to do, we want to export stainless steel products made out of our iron ore. That is what we want to be focusing our attention on.
Now, Mark.
Yeah.
You have a question from Cummings.
I couldn't hear the sound on the video.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. I think we will. Mark would like to read. Mark.
Yeah.
Good
evening, Mr. Cummings. Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Mark.
Okay, Mr. Cummings. This video was from His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa from South Africa. I believe somebody that you know or that you are familiar with. And what he talked about was something that affects all African countries. And my country, Liberia, our country, Liberia, has been affected by this kind of international trade bureaucracy that only benefit the investors, but not Liberia and Liberians. For example, the extraction of mineral resource in the raw material, and that doesn't create enough jobs for the Liberians. So like he said, if you export the iron ore, you are exporting a lot of jobs to the person that extract the iron ore. But there's a way that if you go into negotiation that some of those iron ore can be processed in Liberia in making steel. So my question to you, Mr. Cummings, I wish you would have listened to the video. For example, besides iron ore, we got gold, diamond, rubber in Liberia. So what is Mr. Cummings going to do? You are very older. You are informed with the history of Lanco when they came to Liberia, the Lanco Yekepa, the Lanco Buchanan, and the Firestone when they came to Liberia. And since then, the only thing Liberia will do is to export the mineral resource, the raw material, which doesn't benefit us. We only get a drop in the bucket. So what is Mr. Cummings going to do if become president of Liberia? That we're going to process or negotiate with these investors to process the ore in Liberia to produce steel that we can use for our infrastructure and be able to sell to be able to export steel at the same time. That's number one question, Mr. Cummings.
Yeah, no, thank you, Mark. So yes, I do know. I know President Ramaphosa personally. You know, he was actually a Coca-Cola bottler when I ran Coke Africa, and so I got to meet him. We granted him a franchise, so I consider him a friend. And you know, I didn't hear the video, but I think I got the gist that he's correct that, you know, we cannot be exporting iron ore at one price and then we're putting the steel back at a higher price. So it's the question of what you call value addition. And that applies to iron ore, gold, diamonds, even our agricultural products, because we want to invest in agriculture to make Liberia an agro-based economy. You know, normally I ask the question, you know, most of the diamond in the world is in Africa, Liberia, you know, South Africa, Botswana, for example. These are where the diamonds are. But yes, the diamond centers in the world is in Antwerp, is in Tel Aviv, is in Mumbai. So you gotta ask the question, why is most of the diamond coming from Africa and the diamond centers are in these other countries, right? And that can apply to many other things. So one of the things we will do in Liberia and we need to do in Africa is to make sure, again, we're adding value to our raw materials. So, you know, we do rubber, we produce rubber. In Liberia, we should be producing tires, for example, or rubber gloves, or condoms, or other medical uses of rubber. So these are things we will look to doing. It's about finding the capital, the money to do it, and the expertise. And we can find both of those things. We can buy those things. So again, we're adding value to our raw materials. So rather than exporting raw materials and buying it back more expensive, we can add some value in our country as well. And that's something we'll look to do when we have the opportunity to serve our people as leader of Liberia.
Can I follow up?
Please.
Yeah, sure. You can follow. Master, I just want to follow up. But since you asked the question,
yes, Mr. Cummings, how are you going to do that when most of the rubber production or the harvesting are in the hands of foreign investors? For example, like the Firestone and I don't know, the BF Goodrich plantation, if it's still occupied by the same authority. So how are you going to do that if these people are the producer of rubber?
So, there's a rubber manufacturing facility going up now in Liberia. It happens to not be owned by a Liberian. It's owned by Jetty, an Indian. In fact, I just read in the newspaper recently that he was seeing his rubber processing facility is 90%, 99% complete. So the point is, you don't have to necessarily be the one to produce the rubber. You can buy, so we can create a factory. And we can buy the rubber from Liberian farmers. Liberian farmers produce rubber across the country. Buy it and use that to manufacture, right? So it's all about the expertise and the capital to do it. It's all about the economics of doing that. So we'll work with Firestone if that's necessary to make sure the economics work. So whether they do it or we get another company with expertise to do it, right? So we can take the offtake and manufacture it. So, Mark, this is not complicated. It's not rocket science. As I said, somebody is building a factory in Liberia today. And by the way, it doesn't have to be the government doing it. It can be a Liberian. It can be a non-Liberian. But the fact is, they're taking the rubber, and in Liberia, they're doing value addition, and we will buy some, and they will export some. I'm a strong believer in the private sector. So any private sector actor, we want to support Liberians to be the ones to do that, but we're not going to refuse foreign actors who are bringing investments, creating jobs to help us do that as well. The point is, it will be done in Liberia. It will be manufactured here. We add value here. We'll sell some here, and then we'll export the rest.
Okay. If you permit me, I'll follow up on that question as well. I quite remember when I was a young boy growing up, I used to hear something called the Free Zone Authority that was established at the Free Port of Monrovia, I think under during the Tobo regime. And having studied maritime myself, I know the importance of free zone authorities at every port. They kind of help to add value to exports and imports and whatever. So, but as I have observed over the years, I see that facility, which is already present at the Free Port of Monrovia, has been lying dormant. No administration has done anything to that. Is the administration going to consider, since we're talking about adding value to our raw materials, is the administration going to consider thinking in that direction to reopen or revamp that facility so that the value addition would be much more easier?
Yeah, we will definitely look at the concept of creating free zones, industrial zones. You know, for us to add value addition, right? For it to be competitive, for it to make sense, you need consistent low-cost electricity. You need consistent low-cost running water. You need the country to be connected from an internet perspective. You need technology. And it would take time to get that across the country. So what we can and will do is, whether it's free zones or industrial parks, we make sure we have those around the country. We make sure in those industrial parks, there's consistent electricity, running water, technology, because it's in those industrial parks or free zones that people can establish light manufacturing, low technology manufacturing. And then again, produce things that we can consume in Liberia, produce things that we can export to the ECOWAS region, produce things that we can export to the rest of Africa, and produce things that we can export to the world. But yes, the concept of free zones, of industrial parks, is something that we will pursue because it's an easier way to start the manufacturing, the value addition process until you can completely electrify the country, completely running water. We need to start small, and these industrial parks will be where we start the process.
Mary, you want to come in? Do you have any question?
Yes. Sorry. Lovely to meet you again, Mr. Alexandra, and I have to address you as our president. Love
Thank
to
you.
meet you. I hope, well, going forward to November, you will be for sure our president, and I believe that will be for sure. Yeah, it's about, and by the way, Mr. Coleman, my background is international business management. So I have a degree in that. So I recently graduated. So it's quite fundamental that Uncle Paul always make me to come on the show, just to meet great minds like yourself. About the value addition process that you was current having a discussion around. Um, I believe Liberia is not really looking too much in that direction. So it's a good thing the question went out. My question as a young and generation, no, as a new generation, sorry, and what I've watched coming out of Liberia is not very healthy, I would say. But since you came on the show trying to run the race, I see from a distance, because I'm watching from a distance, I see a lot of the leaders that was there before you even come to say, oh, I want to be president. I want to rectify things that's going on in my country because it's very, 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 it's affecting my health that I'm not hearing good news about my country. So I want to come and help. So all these people that was there before you, running the race before you, they didn't really think about the value system because we're talking about the diamonds, we're talking about the iron ore, we're talking about the rubber. My question to you, if you become president going forward in November, my worry is the resource that is getting out of my country. That's my worry. Because we have so much, but I see that the leaders are just giving it out because they are so into this mindset that, oh, we need help. We need help. So because we need help, so we're giving everything away. But I strongly believe in you, Mr. Cummings, that because of your background in business, I believe in Liberia give you the opportunity. Liberia will be one of the best place, like back in the olden days. So how are you going to kind of like put a stopper to the international communities that is coming into our country and just coming to exploit and take all of our great, great resources that we're meant to be giving onto our children that we're having in the Western world to go back home and enjoy their mother's land? How are you going to? It's a very tough, hard question to answer, but it's something that I really want to answer because I believe if the next president put a stop on and close the whole international gate and build Liberia for 2 years, can you do that?
Yeah, Marie, thank you. Thanks for the question, and thanks for the belief and support. So these things will happen, Marie. It will not happen overnight. It will take time, but we will work with international investors, international businesses, and part of the conversation, part of the agreement will be that they will not just export our raw material, but again, as I mentioned, we'll also do some value addition to some of our raw materials. And it's all about making money. This is not, again, it's not rocket science. People want to know they will invest and they will get a return. And so we'll make sure we understand the economics of the value addition process. It's about finding the expertise to do it. It's about finding the financing, the resources to do it. It's about finding the markets to export those products to. And so we want to encourage Liberians to do that. So we help to finance and work with them. But we're also open to working with the international business person. They want to make a buck. They want to make a return. And if adding value in Liberia provides a return, they would do it there, Marie. If adding value in the UK, in the US, in Nigeria, that's where the capital will follow, where the returns are. So we got to make Liberia attractive. We got to make the environment conducive. That's why I mentioned the need to add value so that it's economically competitive. You got to have low-cost electricity, consistent running water, access to technology. You have to have the skills of people to do that. And so we got to create that environment. We got to provide those tools, if you will. And if we do that, we'll be able to work with whether the foreigners or Liberians to add value to our products. And again, that's why industrial free zones, industrial parks, those are ways you can start small to do that until the whole country is ready to absorb the manufacturing process.
Thank you so much, Mr. Cummings. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Okay. I think everybody has gone around, so I want to bring you back to the political arena because the heat is on now. Saturday is going to be the launch of campaign activities, but we observers, political observers, have been seeing that Mr. Cummings is gaining ground. Mr. Cummings is gaining ground, and some of what they attribute that to is the presence of Councillor Charlie Bronski on the CPP ticket. And in light of that, just yesterday, you were endorsed by people who were formerly on the other side, who broke away from the Liberty Party and went with Senator Remley Kanga Lawrence. And 17 district coordinators have endorsed you. And I want to believe that they are coming with their district memos. How does that make a difference?
Yeah, so you're correct, Linford, that we are gaining momentum. With every passing day, more and more people are supporting us, some publicly, some quietly. I often say we have a lot of quiet supporters, and this is why I think we'll surprise the political pundits in October. But Charlene has brought a lot of energy to the campaign, to the CPP, to the ticket. She's working hard to reunite the Liberty Party that has been fractured, and she's making good progress at that. We will be doing similar things with the ANC as well to bring all of our partisans who were disenfranchised, disaffected, to bring them back, and she's doing that because that's how we'll build momentum. That's how Liberians will see that, most Liberians are coming our direction. Around the world, people tend to want to go where they see the winning team is. And so bringing disenfranchised partisans back, helping to build that momentum is what we encourage others to come and support us. So again, I continue to be very confident in the fact that I think we'll be successful. But again, we have to do the work and bring everybody back in the tent. We're trying to create this big tent or this big hut where new people can come in. So disenfranchised citizens, they're welcome to come. Disenfranchised people from the UP are welcome to come. Disenfranchised people from any political institution. Non-partisans, again, we want to build a big tent, not just to win the election, but we want to govern in an inclusive way. And so we welcome everybody. And again, I applaud Charlene for making sure she's reaching out to all former Liberty Party partisans and bringing them back to come and work with us so we can be successful in October.
Mark, Chima.
Mark, I just want to take the question to Honorable Cummings. Mr. Cummings, you're one of the politicians that have been out there since after the 2017 elections. You've been there knocking doors on doors everywhere, the length and breadth of the country. And I mean, you've been actively involved. Do you stay content with the issue that they call you new kid on the block in Liberian politics? How do you contend with that?
No, look, I think, Jamil, the label of being new has faded. It has, it's still there for some people, but for most people, it's faded, it's moved. We've moved away from that. But it is a reality, though, that compared to the former vice president, compared to the current president, I'm relatively new to politics. So the former vice president became vice president in 2005. The current president ran in 2005. He ran again in 2011 as VP. Former Vice President Boakai was on the ballot as VP 2005, 2011. All of us were on the ballot in 2017. That was my first time. So compared to them, I'm relatively new. But the new label was said because people don't know you, that don't know you piece we've taken care of. We've been around the body politic now for the last 7+ years. And there's no Liberian today who say they don't know Alexander Cummings or they don't know of him. And so again, the new label is subsiding. The UP people, the CDC people, they still sort of make those statements, but it's political. It's meant to try to disparage me in some way. But the good news is I'm not new to Liberians. I'm no longer new to Liberian politics. But I'm new to the old way of politicking, of the character assassination, which they try to do to me. I'm new to politics of corruption, of stealing. I'm new to the politics of not doing things the right way, of doing the same things over and over and over. So if people want to give me that new label in that context, I welcomely accept it. New to no stealing, new to hard work, discipline, new to following the rules. I'm open to that label. New to doing things differently to move the country forward. Yes, I claim that newness. But as far as familiarity with the Liberian people or deal with me, I think we've taken care of that over the last 7+ years.
Mark? Hello? Is Mark? Mark is not, I think Mark is not connected.
Mark is muted.
Hello? Are you hearing me now?
Yeah, go on, please.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Cummings, I'm reading from your 5 or 6 pillars where you talk about mining, agriculture, tourism, infrastructure, and you name it. And as somebody who have traveled across the length of the earth of the world, meaning that you have lived in some of the beautiful capitals across the globe, for example. So when we talk about America, when it comes to tourism, people want to go to New York or Los Angeles or California. When we talk about tourism, people want to go to France, people want to go to Paris. If we talk about England, when we talk about tourism, people want to go to London. So I think you guys, you can tell where I'm going with this question. Now, looking at Monserrado County, where our capital is located, Monrovia, is the first step where tourism is supposed to start. And there's nothing attractive about Monserrado to convince people to come for tourism. Because if we want to expand the tourism to the various counties, you got a lot of work on your hand to be done. For example, like roads, electricity, internet connection, and you name it. So my question starts with, I've told people that Mr. Cummings, traveling across the country, he's a chess player who is drawing his chess board and know what to do from the first day he's in office. Is there any architecture plan or architect that you have got in touch with? For example, if you go your first term, because I believe that you are going to walk the talk, not just talk the talk, but you are going to walk the talk. And I put my head and hand on the chopping board for that. Is there any architect that you are in touch with looking at Monrovia or Liberia or capital compared to other countries' capital is not attractive? And you keep talking about tourism. So that is my question number one. And I have a follow-up.
Yeah, so Mark, the premise of your question, I would debate. There's a saying in Liberia that, when I become president, I want to make a reality and make come true, is that Monrovia is not Liberia. That we have this country that is well beyond Monrovia. And so tourism does not necessarily have to start in Monrovia. When we talk about tourism, we talk about ecotourism, because we do not have the infrastructure for what I call five-star tourism, the big luxurious hotels and restaurants and that kind of stuff. So we add ecotourism because people know then they're coming to live in the ecology. They're coming to rough it out. We have 350 miles of beautiful beaches, including in Monrovia, going all the way from Cape Mount down to Cape Palmas. People who want to come and experience the beaches, we can offer them that. If you Google among the top 5 places for surfing in the world, Robertsport will come up. The surfing is great. We need to advertise. We need to capitalize on that. If people want to come and experience the rainforest, we have a massive rainforest in Liberia. We have waterfalls, Pataway Falls. So we can create these ecosystems of places that people can come and visit. They're not looking to be in a nice fancy hotel. We'll get to that point, but it's not available today. We don't have, the multitude of nice restaurants and stuff, but they're coming to experience the beaches or to go to visit the waterfalls or to ride a canoe or to live in a hut with Liberians to experience that lifestyle. So we talk about ecotourism is what we'll focus on. Again, we'll start small, we'll scale, we'll get bigger as the infrastructure improves. It doesn't have to be Liberia. People can come for surfing and they can go to Robertsport, one of the top 5 surfing places in the world that we'll take advantage of. They can go down, if you go to the beaches in, down River Cess, Grand Coup, Maryland, beautiful white sand beaches. We can encourage Liberians and others to build resorts, and people can fly from Abidjan or from wherever into Hapon, fix the airport. They can live on the beach. They never got to come to Monrovia, and they can fly back to wherever they come from. So these are the creative and different ways we think about tourism in our country. And again, emphasize ecotourism. That will help create jobs. That will bring foreign money. That will bring hard currency into the country. Creating service-oriented jobs. People who are in the service, that is not hard to do, because skills and education is a challenge. That will take time. That's why tourism is so important, because it can create ready-made jobs right away. You train people how to be nice, to serve people, and to that kind of stuff, and you can create jobs for our people and help. So there are different ways to think about tourism, but we're going to think about it differently to take advantage of the natural beauty of our country.
Okay, guys, can I have a follow-up then? So meaning that, because I have seen you being stranded while going to the southeast, and if you talk about tourism in these areas, for example, Maryland, Sano, Grand Cru, Riverside, you name it, during the rainy season time is very difficult. The dry season is very difficult to get there, and talk less about the rainy season, which on a couple of occasions you have faced the same kind of a problem. So meaning that you're going to prioritize the road development to reach to this area, because how would the tourists get to this location if the road connection is very, very deplorable, Mr. Cummings?
So there are multiple ways to address it. One of the things that amazes me about us Liberians is that every year we get rain season. Every year it rains for at least 6 months in a year. And, with climate change, it rains even more. And we know that there are certain spots along the way. Every year, those same spots are impassable. So we don't have to wait to pave the entire road. We need to do that at some point. But at least those places, there are maybe 4 or 5 places where people get stuck between, Nimba or Grand Jida and River G. We need to just fix those places. That's all. It will take time to fix the entire road, those places that are impassable, or if you go in the coastal route, if you're coming from Grand Bassa, River Cess, Standard Grand Cru, again, there are 2 or 3 or 4 places along that every year when it rains, you can't get through. People sit down there for days. At a minimum, in the first year and a half, we even got to pivot. We put a curb, we just fix those spots so people can get through. And then we can move people from, Monrovia or wherever to those places. That's one. 2, we need to fix the regional airports. Today, there are some small propeller planes that fly from Monrovia to Harper to Zvedru. They land on the dusty runway. We'll just fix the runway, fix the airport. In the 70s, 60s, 70s, early 80s, air Liberians to fly from Monrovia to Harper to Greenville, to fly to Zvedru to Vonjima. It existed before. We just gotta bring it back so you can fly to Monrovia on the international carrier, and you can get on a plane and you can fly to Harper or you can fly to Greenville. So we'll just fix the runway. That's another way to get by. The other way to get by, Liberia is connected by waterways. We got rivers that connect the entire country. So we encourage, and this is not necessarily anything the government has to do. The private sector can do this. Encourage private sector people to invest in boats, in barges, to move people, goods, and services to our waterways, to our rivers around the country. And tourists can do that as well. In fact, that can be part of the tourism experience. So these things exist. We just got to think differently about it. We got to attract investors. Let's get some Liberians who got money to come home and invest in these areas, right? One of the things to talk about is creating a diaspora fund. So a lot of Liberians send money home to their families. Let's take some of that money, let's create a professionally managed fund. That fund will then invest in these areas I talk about, and people will get a return on their investments, right? Just like investing in the stock market or in an annuity or in equities, that's the kind of different thinking we got to bring to bear. But these challenges are real, Mark, but there are solutions there. And they're not very complicated solutions. Again, fix these spots that are impassable. Let's do those right away. Let's pave the small airports around the country. People can fly. Again, today, I can fly from Monrovia to Harper or to Zvedru. But we can expand that network, and there are private sector people doing it. Let's exploit the waterways. Let's not put these barriers. These barriers are there, but we can overcome it with some creativity, using the ingenuity of Liberians, and then using the private sector. The government doesn't have to do it all. The government just has to create the environment so that when you invest, you will make money. You will get a return. We will make sure nobody cheating you. We'll make sure the court system works. So if you have problems with your partner, you go to court, you'll be treated fairly. That the president will not call the judge and say, "Oh, I know Mark, I don't know Linford, so let's view in favor of Linford, in favor of Mark." We're not going to do that, right? So that's how we tackle some of these challenges that are today barriers to whether it's tourism or agriculture. There are solutions. Again, I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it will happen overnight, but it will happen. It can happen. And we have to insist that it happens.
We've already gone.
Can I just ask a question real quick?
Yeah, but just hold on. Marie and Jamal will come in. We've already gone ham, but I just want to make a quick announcement. We're going to have a few questions from the public, from the viewers. Unfortunately, we are not getting on the radio tonight in Liberia, so I'm going to open the lines at exactly 10 minutes past 8 o'clock in Liberia, sorry, and it'll be like 10 minutes past 10 o'clock my time. It will be 10 minutes past 9 o'clock, I think, UK time. So we'll have like 20 minutes for the lines to be open. And just before Marie come in, Mr. Cummings just struck a very important point. You talk about the waterway. We have 350 square meters of waterway. Now, one of the things that I learned in maritime is a country like Liberia, which is situated on the water, there is one advantage that its citizens could use. That is something called cabotage. Cabotage is the sole right given to citizens of that particular country to do coastal trading within their water. and that right should not be given to any other foreigner. And we have this long coastal line from Cape Town all the way to Maryland. We have few ports along the coast. I hope, like I said, it's not a question, it's just a comment. I hope your administration will also consider, improving those few ports, including Buchanan, Sano, and I think somewhere in Maryland, that people who want to go into that area can also go. Okay, Mary, you can come in. Yeah, after you, Jamal.
Oh yes. Just to pick up on what Mr. Cummings mentioned around climate change. Mr. Cummings, during in your campaign that you're running, is there any voice for sustainability for the private sectors and the government businesses as well? Is there any form of like events or conferences or like anything that they're putting across within your race, within your campaign, to show that you are not abandoning climate change and you are not abandoning the sustainability approach to the business environment within Liberia? I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen that.
Yeah. So, the first thing I would say is that, we are all contributors to the climate crisis, but we in Africa in general, and in Liberia specifically, we are a very small contributor to that challenge. Everybody contributes around the world, but we're a small contributor. The major contributors are the Americans, the Chinese, the Europeans, so on and so forth, right? So they have the bigger responsibility to work in the climate space. And again, everybody got to contribute. We got to play our part because we bear the consequences of the climate crisis, perhaps disproportionately than they do because they got more resources, etc. But the first point I want to make that the Europeans, Americans, the Chinese, Indians, and so on, it is their primary responsibility to help solve this issue because they're the primary contributors to the issue. So we need to just get that clear. That's one. Two, everything we do, we want to do it on a sustainable basis. Again, we got this massive rainforest. We will only take advantage of that if we do it on a sustainable basis, replenishing. If the world wants to pay us not to cut it down, we welcome that, but they got to pay us enough money not to do it so we can take that money to develop our country. So we are very clear on the fact that whatever we do has to be sustainable. I was in District 9. I live in District 9 in Monserrado on 26 and walking through some of the neighborhoods. And the amount of plastics, one-way plastic that is polluting the country, that's something we need to revisit, right? So yes, sustainability, the climate is something that we are going to pay attention to. Our policies will reflect that. As we talk about value addition, we'll make sure we understand the climate consequences of doing those things. The technology is such that now a lot of technology can address those issues. Even as we think about electrifying Liberia, we want to look at renewable energy, right? As opposed to carbon generated energy. So we'll look at all those things. But it is important to recognize that as a contributor to the climate crisis, we contribute, but we're not the major contributors. But we'll play our part. We'll be responsible in how we develop Liberia in a sustainable way.
Yeah, thank you. That's all I want to know, because I think one time you did mention about the amount of plastics. So it's something that you don't like. So it's something that I see that when you do take office, you're going to really, really put your foot down on, because it's something that when I do my research on you, it's something that you don't like. You talk about it a lot. So that's what I asked about it. Yeah.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah.
Mr. Cummings. With the situation in Liberia right now, it's a lot of hardships. I know the challenge is right on the hands. If you do take office next year, 2024, could you please tell us your first 100 days in office? I know Liberia has numerous of pressing issues right now. What are your priorities the first 100 days? What are the pressing issues we'll be looking at?
Yeah, so there are many things on the 100-day list. And so the things I'm going to list, this is not in any particular order because we will, we'll do all of these things. But we will make sure we create a credit facility for Liberian businesses. We're debating the number now, whether it's to start with $10 million or $20 million, but we'll create a fund that whether you're market woman, so you can borrow micro loans, whether you're a small Liberian business, so you need $100,000 or whatever to order, import whatever, we'll create a credit facility for Liberian businesses because I believe that, private sector entrepreneurship is important. We want Liberians to be the primary owners and beneficiaries of the Liberian private sector. We'll immediately start to implement the Liberianization policy. We have Liberianization policy where there's certain industries that only Liberians should participate in. That's not the case today. We insist that happens. There are certain jobs that concessions and companies have that need to be, we need to train Liberians to take those jobs. So the Liberianization policy will enforce. Sanitation. The country is dirty. Monrovia, Monserrato, if you come home, piles of trash everywhere. We'll tackle the sanitation issue so we can begin to clean our country, clean our cities. We'll introduce a national youth service program. We're designing that program now, what will actually entail. We have a lot of young people, unemployed, idle, unemployable. We got to design a national youth service program so we can engage, our young people in that process. We will find the money. Part of the first 100 days, although we're doing some work now, is how we're going to finance all of these things, how we're going to find the money to do it. We will initiate an audit of what we are inheriting so that we know what we're actually getting, what we're dealing with. So we'll make sure the integrity institutions are financed, their staff with the right people, they got the right resources so that they can audit so we know what we're inheriting. This is not about witch hunting anybody. We want to know what we're getting, and then we want to follow the evidence. So we're not going to target any individual, but if the evidence leads to whoever it leads to, that's what evidence will lead to. In terms of somebody being stealing Liberian money, chopping it, then you will be prosecuted. But we initiate audit of what we're inheriting in the first 100 days. So those are just some examples. The whole traffic issue, we'll address the traffic issue. All the people running around with the third lane, the siren, everybody got to follow the traffic rules. That would ease movement of people from one point to the other, right? So all of those things we're going to tackle in the first 100 days of a Cummings administration. And we have teams of Liberians working on those things now as I speak. So we'll know exactly what action we need to take to implement those things in the first 100 days and beyond.
Okay, Mark. You're muted, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Cummings, and thank you, Linford. My question still comes in the agriculture area. Like my brother Linford said, we have a long coastal line from Cape Mar County that ends all the way to Maryland County. And our water is one of the richest in West Africa when it comes to fish. And our, what we call the Coast Guard, I don't know how well funded they are. And our fishery industry, I don't know how well funded they are. What is Mr. Cummings going to do to explore this area, for example, to export fish from Liberia to the international market? Is there any plan to create more jobs? Because we are administration that went about bringing, I think, a couple of thousand fishing boats from Senegal, from XYZ, and never materialized. So is there any other extraordinary plan that Mr. Cummings has, for example, to empower our, sisters, mothers, fishermen along the coastal line that could create more jobs and to create, for example, a cold storage where they will be able to store their fish when they're not being sold on the market?
Yeah, so Mark, the answer is yes. All good questions from you. Liberia used to export shrimp, lobster, fish. There was a company called the Mesherado Group of Companies that, as far back as the 60s, I believe, had fishing boats, trawlers along the coast, kept again catching fish and shrimp and lobster and snails, bringing it. They had a factory where they would freeze it, package it, and export to Europe. In Japan, the Japanese have some of the highest standards for the importation of seafood, sushi, etc. And our products used to qualify. So again, these are things we've done in the past. We can do again. We'll encourage private sector investment in that area. Again, this is not everything the government will do, but it's an industry we'll target, and we're creating incentives. We're creating an environment to encourage private sector actors, hopefully Liberians, but it can be foreigners as well. As long as the stuff is captured on our coast, it is processed, it is packaged here, they're creating jobs, and they're exporting it from here, we get export earnings, we get export taxes from that exercise. So this is something we'll encourage. We're creating an environment for that. We need to, protect our shorelines. We can't have people just fishing, massive fishing, and none of it touch the shore. We don't see the value. Those are things we want to stop. So we need to enforce it. So we need to invest in the Coast Guard. I should know this, but I'm not sure the Coast Guard may exist on paper. I'm not sure it exists in reality. We'll make sure it exists in reality. But again, we're creating an environment to encourage private sector to the future of business. Yes, the idea of having cold stores along the coast. So the small fishermen, they have a place to come and store their product, is something we will invest in doing as well to encourage growth in that industry. And again, we encourage private sector actors to take advantage of our coastline and bring the product here, packaging, and then ship it overseas.
Okay. My last question, and it's something that I share with Mr. Pastor and Mr. King, and I hope they were able to reach it out to you. For example, you talk about Liberian coming together and to create some sort of investment if the war is right, the choice of war scheme. For example, let's say you got 500 Liberians that able to, for example, say, okay, this is a project that the government has to expand the Rabos International Airport, for example, and you got 500 Liberians to contribute $5,000, or for example, to buy an aircraft to do transport between, because our people have to travel from America, come to Brussels, then Liberia. So let's say the Cummings administration want to buy an aircraft to do commercial transport, which would bring hundreds of millions of dollars to Liberia, and you open the investment scheme. For example, if a Liberian invests $5,000 and don't touch that money, for example, within a year or two time, this is what they're going to get. And few other countries have done that before, and the benefit was very huge and successful. So is that something in the pipeline that Mr. Cummings is thinking on? Because these are things that Liberian people are concerned about, and that will be able to empower Liberian people to create the next, what we call middle-class family in Liberia and in the diaspora.
Yeah, so you missed some multiple points that ask multiple questions. So, creating an airline, a government-run airline, it will not be a priority for us. But encouraging private sector Liberians who are interested in that to do that is something we could support, we would encourage. We will create the right incentives for the private sector to do that. But as a government, it will not be a priority to create an airline. We just got too many other things. We got to make choices, too many: education, healthcare, agriculture, tourism. There are enough private sector actors. I mentioned today, you can fly from Aurora to Hapa. It's being not run by the government, run by private sector people who make money doing that. We encourage international carriers to come to Liberia. make the airport effective, make it efficient, create incentives for people to fly directly from the UK, whether it's British Airways, Air France from France, Delta, whoever, United, go to Accra, they can come to Liberia, create that environment, for them to do that. So it's about the private sector taking care of that piece and encouraging it, the environment to it, for them to do that, Mark. On the fund, it's something I mentioned earlier, that we will create what I call a diaspora fund. And they have funds around the world, including in Europe and North America, where people pool their resources. People put their money in there. You have people professionally managing the fund. They take the aggregate of that money and they say, we'll invest. And they could invest in an airline company. They could invest in fishing. They could invest in housing. We need housing in Liberia. For diasporans who want to come back, we need to have housing for them to buy. Different price range, different sizes. So we will create this fund. The government might be a participant in the fund. So if it's I'm making the number up. If it's $100 million fund, maybe the government will say, look, we'll put the first 20 million. We want to return to, and then the other 80 million, Liberians can invest in that. Then that fund will be managed, and so we'll take that fund and we'll invest in housing. We'll build housing. We'll sell those houses, create mortgages. When people pay, you who invested, you will get a return. You will get some kind of dividend from the fund, some kind of distribution from the fund. So just like investing in the UK stock market or the German stock market or the American New York Stock Exchange, whatever it is, and you get a return on your equity, if the fund is professionally managed, people can get a return on their fund. And again, and the government, just maybe to give people comfort, my government may say, we also invest in the fund, but we want a return too, just like any other shareholder in that fund. And that's something we will set up, we will encourage as a way of diasporans helping the country by creating funding, but also getting a return. And housing would be a good one to use that fund to invest in, but there are other areas. The fund could invest in expanding the airport, right? And getting fees, right? So they get a return from the investment. So there are multiple things you can do with a fund, but a diaspora fund is something that we will focus on facilitating and trying to create, but we want it to be private sector managed and private sector run. So it can be run, with integrity, people can get a return on their investments.
Okay, I don't know if Jima wants to come in, but
yeah, I want to, if you mind, I want to come. Quick question for the honorable. If it has to do with Mr. Comey, about remittances, what we abroad send money abroad home, and we're looking at the way remittances are also shipments of our goods and products to Liberia. Those are things I want you to, if there's a chance, the government going to facilitate a cost-effective way of channels transfer of remittances to Liberia, and how can it be easy and cost-effective for Liberia that are sending products to Liberia through the port of Monrovia, free port of Monrovia and other ports in Liberia. Because the challenge we've been having here abroad is we want to send things home, but it's quite expensive. Many people are experiencing these situations. How are your government going to create a situation where we're going to have a cost-effective and very transparent situation where Liberia can have at least a way of sending something home, at the same time also transferring money to the family of my loved one to Liberia with a very cost-effective means?
Yeah, no, Jamil, that's not, the government will not get involved in facilitating transmittances. What we will do is we will make sure that the banking system is set up to receive those transmittances. We'll make sure the banking system is not charging exorbitant fees to penalize people for sending the money to Liberia. We'll make sure the port system is working, is efficient, that there's not high duties and tariffs on when you send goods and stuff to Liberia. That's the government's role, but the facilitation, there are many companies today that, some Liberian-owned companies that facilitate the movement of cash, right? We want to encourage the private sector to do that. As I said, we will make sure the environment is created for them to do it unencumbered. We'll make sure we're not charging exorbitant fees on these remittances, so that if you're sending $10, we want most of it to get to the person you're sending it to, and not be charging a lot of fees along the way. But the actual facilitation of that is not something the government will do. We'll just make sure the central bank, the banking system is prepared to handle, facilitate that. As I said, we'll make sure the ports are not being a barrier to goods and services coming in and charging exorbitant fees and that kind of stuff. That's the role of government. But the private sector, we are consumed about government doing everything. In the West, where many of you live today, it's the private sector that does all of those things. The British government or the Swedish government or the German or the Norwegian government, not in the money transfer business, right? There are private sector companies that do that. The private sector companies that ship the containers from point A to point B, right? So we just got to create an environment that facilitate it. We want to encourage Liberians to participate in those sectors as well. But that's the role of government. The private sector gotta facilitate that, and people will make money. So maybe the diaspora fund, people can take that fund and say, you know what, we'll start a money transfer company. That's one way to invest. But the government cannot do everything. Some things philanthropy, we look to philanthropists to do it. And many things will encourage the private sector to do. The government will create the environment, the government will create the standards, the government will regulate. In many countries in the West, the government, not the electricity producer, not a water company, right? You just regulate, make sure the pricing, make sure it's affordable, and private sector people do this, and that's the mindset I want to bring to Liberians. And this all consumption by government, it hasn't worked. There's a reason why. When there's a profit incentive, when there's a profit motive, people become more innovative. They're putting something at risk, right? When there's that government, then it's free, nobody cares, it doesn't run well. That's part of the change, Jamil, we're going to bring to our country, is encourage the private sector to do most of these things. And we just make sure it's regulated, it's affordable for our people, it's done with the right standards, but we want private sector actors, including Liberians, to provide these services to our country, to our people, and to do it beyond Liberia. There's no reason why people ship money to Nigeria, to Ghana. We should participate. We should have ambitions to do that, but not just. We can start with Liberia piece, but then there's this whole sub-region and the whole continent where people send remittances that Liberian companies should get involved and participate in that process as well.
Okay, so far so good. We're doing well with time, and want to say thank you to our SB. He's on time, and all of the panelists. You are hitting target. But I will just be opening the last 2 minutes. In 2 minutes, but just before that, let me ask you this question. And most of my questions are being, based from the maritime sector tonight. And please forgive me. That's my background. Now, LISCA. I guess you have heard about LISCA. That's the Liberia Ship Registry. And Liberia comes number 2 to Panama in the open registry, something which is very advantageous for us. In fact, that's why even drove me into that area, because when I try to seek education here, somebody asked me, from Liberia, why you want to go do different things? Go in shipping. And that's how I ended up there, from journalism to shipping. But one thing I know there is that LISCA has been run by this private entity, something that was started by an ex-American, I think a soldier or Navy, somebody, okay, from 1940 something all the way until now. And what we do get, I think it's okay. If what we do get from LISCA is like, LISCA is our sales representative. They broker all of the deals on our behalf as the country that is actually registering these ships. But then they are there doing the brokerage, and then they come to us with what they get. Like, Ababa Texas, I go to Chima to run it. So whatever Chima reports to me is what I receive. It's your administration thinking. I think the last time any government ever attempted was President Taylor's regime, but I don't know how far that went. Is your administration thinking in that direction, where Liberia could now I think we have matured enough after being in this business for more than almost some 50 years that we could take charge of our own registry and manage it ourselves. No sound. Guys, do you hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, we
Okay.
can hear you.
I think Mr. Cummings had a little bit of.
it's a heavy, the downpour of rain in Monrovia right now. So
Yeah.
they may have some
It's gonna
issues
rain
here.
over here as well, Mr. Cummings, because I just got the apparently it's a thunderstorm coming up tonight.
So I don't know if we can get sound from the SB now because well, this is a Liberia that we're talking about, a Liberia that needs to be fixed. And President Weah went on the air and asked, what are they going to fix? These are some of the things that we need to fix in this terrible country right now in the 21st century. We cannot get internet connectivity when rain comes down. So, well,
Look, Mr. Goy.
Yeah.
It is only an idiot or an ignorant
I think
person.
Mr. Cummings at the background. You want to signal us, guys.
Yeah.
Can you bring it on?
Yeah, he's on now.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not sure what happened on my side, but you asked him about maritime. You want to?
Yeah, the LISCA, the Liberia Ship Registry, that has been run by a private entity since I think 1942 or 45, right after the World War II until now. And I believe that Liberia has matured enough after being in this business for years, instead of just outsourcing this to somebody else that will be representing us. You think Liberia has matured enough to take over? And is the administration going to try something like that? Because the last administration I tried was Taylor's administration, but I don't know how it ended up.
Yeah, so what I would say to that, Linfo, is, to be honest, I don't know enough about the details of how that works to have an informed decision on whether Liberians should take it over. I don't understand the economics, and that's something I would do early on. And look, this will apply to all of our concession agreements and stuff. We will make sure we just understand the economics, how it works, how money is made, the value chain. And based on that, then we'll look at, should it be Liberian, should it be somebody else? I don't object to non-Liberians running things as long as we are getting full value, full benefit as a country. And it can be individual Liberians getting full value, full benefit, or it can be us as a country, as a government, getting full value and benefit. So I would just defer that answer on I need to understand the economics of how the registry works. If we're getting fair return, fair value, maybe it's not something we want to take over or give to Liberians.
It's a bit tricky, though. It's a bit tricky.
Or maybe we do. I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying I need to understand, right? Before I can make any informed decisions on where the ownership to be. But my bias will always be for things Liberians don't own for them to own. That would be my natural bias. But again, it would be on a case by case, situation by situation basis. And I don't want to make a statement here that 2 years from now you say, oh, you said you're going to do this and you didn't do it. I just want to understand any more detail.
Yeah, Mr. Cummings, that's something you need to actually take into consideration. I hope you're making some notes, because the maritime Liberia, we got a lot of ships. I just want to follow and buttress what my brother Linford said, and some of us that grew up in Monrovia and understand that area and know how Liberia being exploited. Okay, our money is not being collected by us. It's something that you and your entire, the team in your orbit need to look at, to investigate. Why is it that we can collect our money directly and it's being collected by a second party and we receive a drop in the bucket? That is one of our main source of revenue. Thanks, sir.
Yeah, but I mean, you're making a statement, Mark, to be honest, that I don't know if you got the facts to support it. You may be right. I'm not saying you're not. But my point is, let me understand whether that statement is true or not. It may be. But I don't want to make a blanket statement, make a blanket commitment without truly understanding if what you see is indeed true, or is it just a perception? Is the reality different? I don't know. I'm not saying it is or isn't, but
It's
I
not
think
a
it's very important that we have the facts, we understand it, and so that when we change it, we make the decision, we don't regret it. We're making the change for the right reason based on the facts. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I actually agree with your answer, Mr. Cummings, because the reason here is that it's a technical thing. You know, this is not administrative. It's technical. You need the best technical people in that area. One of the reasons we've been having problems in Liberia with most of the sectors is that people like they normally say placing the wrong peg in the square hole or something like that. You know, you taking me and carrying me to a medical center to be there. I don't know anything, but of course it's administrative, but I need to know small. I have some insight. So you know, having the people with requisite education into that area on your team, I think it will help to explain some of the technical details. It's all about consultations. It's not about going and say, okay, our project we want to run it outside. No, it's about consultation and arrangements and negotiations as well.
Brother Linford, just 5 seconds. One of the best way of going about it is that the first question is, why is it Liberia as a country that before I think Costa Rica that is second to Liberia, or Liberia has come second to Costa Rica, cannot collect her own money when most of the ships in the world are flying Liberian flag? Why? That's the first question. That's the most important question need to be asked. Why? Then from there you establish.
The answer to that question is that that company is the one that opened the door and then came to Liberia and said, well, we can register ships under your flag, and then it's like I said, it's consultation. You have to.
That's where the question.
But the question is, so Mark, do you know for a fact that the Panamanians and the Costa Ricans are collecting it themselves, or they're using a firm or some private sector firm? Do you know who's collecting it on their behalf?
It's something that you might ask me. I can have a backdoor conversation with you.
No, I mean, look, you could be absolutely correct in your assertions. But what I'm saying is,
yes, sir.
I don't know whether you're correct or not. So I need to get the facts, and then we'll react.
Yeah, the Panamanian, for example, that you measured, there being one entity from another that replaces their collection, the same as Liberia. There being one entity or one institution to another that been collecting on behalf of Liberia. Then the question is, why is it Liberia as a country, as a sovereign nation, cannot put the requisite or the mechanism together to collect her own money? Is it because of the financial institution? If we are handicapped, we cannot collect our own money. Is it because of that? Why is it we cannot collect our own money? It's the question, sir.
Again, you may be oversimplifying. Again, I don't know enough about this thing to be arguing here, but you may be oversimplifying why involved, because I don't believe it's just collecting money. I think this is why they train people to do the inspections, to train people. It's not as simple as just collecting cash, right?
No,
I believe it's more complicated. It doesn't mean Liberians can't do it. All I'm saying, we need to just understand before we make these declarations. Get the facts, understand, and then we will figure it out. The bias is for Liberians to do these things, but let's do it in the proper way. Let's not make it worse. Let's understand the facts. Let's do it the right way, and then we'll make the change and transition as necessary.
Yes, like I said, I side with your answer because I'm speaking as a technocrat in that area. I'm telling you, it's all about negotiations, because that question, that primary question, why it's a company that established itself to work on behalf of Liberia. So that question about why Liberia can make it. But I will have a caller on the line from Liberia presently. And caller, are you there? What's your name? And hello? Hello. Yeah, be audible a little bit. What's your name and where you calling from?
This is the Lord Chilape from Liberia, although You got. Sorry. The internet problem is just a nightmare. I just have two questions for Mr. Cummings, and this is regards to the campaign and also the election. When Mr. Cummings forced the government and the opposition
Hello? Hello?
I think we lost Paul.
Yeah, I can't hear the question.
Yeah, we lost Paul, Mr. Cummings. Can you take a second caller? Linford.
Okay, I will read the first question from Paul. Paul is asking whether the SB, Mr. Cummings, will kind of compel the rest of the contestants or candidates to a debate, because it seems as though, from what he has observed, people have always managed to run away from debates during the elections period, and then they take a free ride and people elect them. And then we'll be going. That's the first question. Paul, what's your second question?
The second question is that a lot of kids that sell plenty chips and cold water between cars. And if Mr. Cummings' government do something about these little kids that sell plenty chips, cool way between cars, they need to be in school. That's something that I see everywhere in Monrovia. Little kids, 5 years old, 7 years old. What are the CPP going to do with these little kids that are selling between cars?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so on the debate issue, we cannot compel anybody to debate, right? It's a free country. People can choose to debate or not. We are open to debates. In 2017, in fact, there were 2 debates I participated in. We did extremely well in both. And those debates, particularly the first one, was what propelled me on the Liberian political scene. Too bad it happened in late August, I think, early September. So many people have made up their minds by then. So I'm very open to debates. I do well on debates. Our policies, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, we're very clear on. We're clear on our commitments. The caller is correct that Mr. Weah did not debate, did not make any commitments or promises. And you know what we got today. So we're open to debate, but we can't compel people to debate. You know, there's an organization, I think it's the Amos Sawyer Foundation, that is trying to organize debates for this presidential cycle. We've agreed to participate in those debates, and we'll see if, the CDC and the UP are willing to participate in those debates. But we can't force anybody to do it. On the kids selling between cars on the streets, the caller is right. The CPP government will get those kids back in school.
That's illegal.
We gotta make sure. This is why growing the economy and creating jobs is important, because those kids' parents should be gainfully employed. They should be working, and the children should be in school. So it will cause some short-term pain economically for the families, but those kids will not be on the streets. They will have to be in school, learning, and will be growing the economies, creating jobs in agriculture, in ecotourism, infrastructure, those other areas. Creating jobs for the parents can work and support them. We'll make sure policemen, military people, healthcare workers, teachers, they're getting their salary regularly every month, and they're getting a living wage, enough to pay their rent, pay the children's school fee, buy food, etc. So the children don't need to be on the street, but we'll take the kids off the street so they can go back to school.
Mr. Cummings? So can I just is Uncle Paul finish?
Yes, go ahead.
Mr. Cummings, it's about we since you've been here now, it's 1 hour, almost 1 hour 30 minutes. I mean, we haven't really mentioned anything around the built environment and also the health and social care environment once you take office, because the focus could be on agriculture, infrastructure. I know infrastructure, it involves health and social care, but I mean, like around the built environment. What George Weah is doing, he really think he's taking over the built environment, but technically he's not, because he keep building.
Marie, let your question be short because the phone is busting. A lot of people calling.
So which environment, Marie?
The built environment, and also the health and social care, specifically health and social care and the built environment. I mean, how are you going to do?
What is the built environment?
The built environment is what George Weah is doing. He's building, but he's building a lot of parks, and it's not very attractive.
Okay. Yeah. So on healthcare, we're going to focus on what we call primary healthcare. You know what kills most Liberians today? There are 5 6 things that 80% of Liberians die from: malaria, typhoid, hypertension, diarrhea, childbirth, and there's a 6 that kills most of our. Those are the things we'll focus on in healthcare. We have clinics around the country with the right drugs to treat those. We'll create awareness, so preventive as well, but we'll focus on primary healthcare, because if we focus on that, we will save the lives of most Liberians. Yes, Liberians die from cancer, liver disease, heart disease, but that's a relatively small percent of the population. 80% die from these very basic things. So our healthcare policy will focus on addressing what kills 80% of Liberians. On recreation, the president building parks, again, is misplaced priority. Yes, we want to encourage sports. Yes, we want to encourage entertainment, etc., etc.
Hold on, caller. I'll put you on. Hang up. There's not one that's on the call.
That cannot be the top priority. And so that's not where we'll spend a lot of time and resources.
Thank you. Yeah.
So let's take a few questions more before I have to leave. A few more questions from the public.
Okay. There was a caller here, Joe Conto. I don't know whether he stayed there. Let me see, but the line is busting, so I really don't have control. Joe, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, yeah. What's your question?
You just
Yeah, but go. I hear you now. Hello, Joe. I hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm here. Good evening, Mr. Cummings. Again, my name is Joseph Conto, and I'm calling from Maryland, USA. I'm also a supporter of you since 2016 up to this date, and I still support you. And I believe in you, and I know that you're going to win this election. In the upcoming election, there are two about or make commitment to the Liberian people as far as the establishment of war and economic crime code in Liberia that the Liberian people are so yearning for. And one of those candidates is you and Councillor Tewa Gonglo. Mr. Cummings, we know there has been an obstacle in our legislature when it comes to the establishment of the War and Economic Crime Code. How will you go about doing it when you have all the obstacles in our legislature where they will not pass it or ratify it so that it can be established? It is possible, or can you commit to the Liberian people that you will use executive order to establish the code, sir? Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for your support. Yeah, look, there will be a whole new legislature that will be elected this year. You know, the history of legislative election is that it's something like, I think only 20% of the legislators get reelected. So most of them do not get reelected or choose not to run. So it will be a whole new legislature. And we'll try to work with them, with the legislature, to implement the War Economic Crime Code. I'm committed to doing that. We'll encourage them, we'll work with them, we'll lobby with them, we'll make the legislative trade-offs to get them to do it, but I'm confident we can convince them to do it. As I said, it will be a whole new legislature. And we'll work with the new ones to make sure we can implement it, because I'm committed to doing it as you suggest. It's a way to stop this era of impunity in our country. Particularly for economic crimes, but of course, war crimes as well.
Okay, we'll take just 2 more questions so that we can let Mr. Cummings go. So call us. There was a call calling from Pennsylvania. If you stay there and you're hearing us, you can call. because I told you to hold on. But let me ask this question, Mr. Cummings. There is this all important talks about. Okay, that call is coming in. I don't want to waste that caller's time. Hello, caller.
Yes, how are you?
Okay. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Captain Williams, and I'm calling from Pennsylvania.
Okay. And what's your question?
Okay, so Mr. Cummings, first of all, I want to tell you thank you for trying to mobilize Liberia and introduce, a new way of life. It's going to be challenging because Liberians are not used to change, so they're definitely going to fight this. And also, they're not trauma informed, so they don't know how trauma manifests itself by allowing people who have traumatized them to continue to be their governor. I want to get that out there first. I heard your answer in regards to taking the children off the street. My question is, what is the plan as far as legalizing education for all school-age children? Because here in America, from age 5 to 18 is you have to be in school. It's a law. So do you have any plan of implementing laws around all school-age children being in school?
Yeah, I believe it's also Liberian law.
Parents are working regardless if their parents have a job or not.
Yeah. So first of all, thank you for your support, and thank you for recognizing that the change you want to bring about will be a challenge, that people are going to resist it. You're absolutely correct. So thank you for acknowledging that. But we know we're going to have this fight, and we're prepared to take on this fight. But yes, we're going to take the kids off the street. I believe it's required in Liberia today that kids have to be in school, and we will enforce the law. We'll take the kids off the street. We'll make sure they're in schools. We're going to make sure the schools are good quality schools. They are there. We're going to make sure the parents have jobs so they're not depending on the kids to sell. But we're going to take the kids off the street. That is just not acceptable. We're mortgaging their future, and shame on us as a country, as a people, when we're mortgaging the future of our young people. So we'll enforce the laws of Liberia and take them off the street and put them in school.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to follow up quickly?
Can I recommend public school in every district, please?
Well,
yes. So
public school in every district.
Yeah, we are going to work hard to make sure all Liberia's young people have access to quality education. And if that means a public school in every district, that's what we'll work towards. Yes. But again, I'm a man that believe in numbers and facts and that kind of stuff. And if this is why the census is important and that kind of stuff, so you know how many people in what community. If you got X number of people in a particular community, in a particular district, that justifies, that's how they do in America where you are. They put schools based on the demographics, based on the number of people. Then you say, we'll build a school here. You get critical mass of people, you build a school there. So we'll build schools based on demographics, based on the facts, based on the population, is where we'll put schools. But the point is we want every Liberian child to have access to a quality education. And if that means a school in every district, or it could be more than one school in every district, based on the population in the district. But it got to be driven by the facts, by the statistics.
Well, Tamak become our enemy to a very large extent. So without keeping the SB for a very long time, he's been busy all day today. I listened to the first interview this morning. Is there anything that you didn't tell the voters that will be campaigning to, and that will be landing the post on October 10th? You want to say now?
Yeah. So let me give my closing remarks, and I will answer that, Linford. First of all, let me say thanks to all of you, Jamil, Mark, you, Linford, Marie. Thanks for the good questions. So thanks for facilitating this conversation. Let me say thanks to your listening audience for giving us the last 90 plus minutes to have a conversation with you. As Linford said, it's been a long day, and I still got a few more calls to do tonight. But we are
saying to our people, we are giving you a clear choice on October 10th. The choice between Cummings, Bromskin, Boykai, Kuhn, and we are Howard Taylor. We offer real change, real fundamental change. We say that for Liberia to change, we can't just wish it to change. We can't just talk it to change. We can't just pray it to change. We gotta be prepared to do the work, to make the sacrifice, to make the choices, and to do things differently. It's the combination of those things, making the choices, doing the work, making the sacrifice. That's what will change our country, doing things differently. That's what will change Liberia, not because we talk and we wish it, and we're good at talking. I also describe the Liberia we want to develop. I always describe we all eat rice. This bowl of rice called Liberia. Inside this bowl of rice, good jobs, good educational system, good healthcare, good infrastructure, roads, electricity, running water, technology, good farming, good tourism. We want to make that bowl of rice bigger. That's my area. I know how to grow that bowl of rice. And we want to guarantee every Liberian the right to put a hand in that bowl of rice. We don't care about your tribe, your gender, your religion, because you don't choose those things. You don't choose if you Gola, you Dio, you Pele, you Mano, you Congo, you Madingo, you Grebo. Not your choice. You don't choose whether you're born a man or woman. You don't choose whether you're born a Christian or a Muslim or a Buddhist. Those things will not stop you from putting your hand in a bowl of rice. The only thing will stop you is if you don't obey the law. But that's a choice. You can choose to obey the law or not. Liberians live everywhere in the world. They don't follow the law. They don't obey the rules. Somehow in Liberia, we think we can be gangsters. We're not allowed that. You obey the law, you follow the rules, you can put your hand in a bowl of rice. And how much of the rice you eat is up to you. If you're lazy, you will not eat much of the rice. If you're hardworking, you eat more of the rice. But that's also a choice you will make because we're making that bowl of rice bigger. That's the Liberia we aspire to. Today, if you're not CDC, you can't put your hand in a bowl of rice. For me, Councilor Bronsky, you can be ANC, CDC, UP, no matter. You're a Liberian, you follow the rules, you work hard, you can eat from the rice. That's the Liberia we aspire to. Create opportunities for our people, create jobs, improve educational system, find the money to do it, stop the stealing, stop the corruption. That's the Liberia we aspire to. So we ask you to be confident that if given the opportunity, Liberia will change. You will see a difference in your life. You will not embarrass you. You will not be made shame. For those Liberians in the diaspora who want to support us, call your family, call your friends, call your relatives, encourage them to support the Cummings Bronskin ticket. So with that, again, I want to thank all of you, and God bless you all, and God bless Liberia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming. It's a round of applause.
This is Bottom Line Liberia.
Tune to the Bottom Line Liberia 24/7.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, guys, we are back, and thanks. We want to say thank you to Mr. Cummings, and thanks to all of the panelists. And tonight, is in fact, let me take you lastly. Let's say thank you to our viewers first, because without them we will not be here, and we want to appreciate you for sharing the video, the live. And we always encourage you to be part of the Bottom Line Liberia. This is where we discuss the issue. We don't go for people. We don't go for people personally. We discuss issues here, and we give our analysis. We give our opinions. Yeah, it may not be correct, but that's what we think. So Mark, Jima, Paul is in the background, and Marie. Here we are. We had the SB. Did you take away anything from him?
He was amazing. He was amazing. I mean, he did come. I think he had a show over here. No, not a show, but the same question time over here in the UK. And I didn't go because I'm a bit skeptical about face-to-face. But he was really amazing. He answered all of the questions, because my main focus was for us to kind of like focus a bit more on sustainability. Because sustainability covers the agriculture and most especially the agriculture side of the business environment. But he's amazing. He's a very calm spirit. And I believe that if the Liberian gave him a chance, Liberia is going to go a very long way. Because what I see from him, what I pick from his personality type today, he does not have George Weah personality type. He looks like a strict core businessman. And when once he's looked at someone that is in office, ain't gonna be like what George Weah is doing, just go and sign the next corrupted deal. He looked like he's gonna assess that paper first to see if Liberia is gonna be at risk, or if Liberia is gonna benefit from that deal. I mean, this guy is amazing. I can talk on and on and on and on because I've done a lot of research on him. It was a really, really great pleasure to have him on the show tonight. Really great. Thank you so much, Lemford and Jamal and and Mark. On my first time meeting you, Mark, on the show, but thank you so much. Uncle Paul, I know Uncle Paul is in
It's a pleasure
Liberia.
to Marie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark, you were asking all the tough questions, and I guess you got something from Mr. Cummings from what you wanted to find out.
Thank you, Brother Lim. I got something from Mr. Cummings, but as I said to you guys during our, back door chat, we want to make Mr. Cummings a leader, right? But not a god. So, and one of the best way, as my friend and dear brother, if I'm doing something wrong, you criticize me back door, and that's the way I'm going to be a better person. And Mr. Cummings coming from the corporate world and not from the Liberian political elite, there are some things that people around Mr. Cummings supposed to be on top of their games to advise Mr. Cummings on. For example, like one of the things you brought about that I try to follow up and buttress you is we got four institutions in the country when it comes to our mineral resource, right? For example, the Firestone, the Lamco Yekepa, or the Lamco, or the Firestone, the Bond Mining Company, and the Liberia Maritime Affair, right? These four institutions are our main source of income when it comes to revenue or when it comes to mineral resource. And for Mr. Cummings to not be having enough information on this, I would blame his team, because this is one of the areas that Liberia gets millions of dollars from annually. So it's something that Mr. Cummings is supposed to be aware of, and you understand. And I blame his team. I'm not blaming Mr. Cummings. So, for example, before, there are few institutions from one institution to another that collects our money. After the Panama, Liberia was first, and later on, when they constructed the Panama Swift Canal, I think 1967, after the French and the Panamanian crisis, then Panama took over Liberia, I want to believe. I'm not right now because I'm not looking at a document because I got it somewhere safe for which that question came. It didn't come out of the blue. And for us not to be able to collect our money, then the question as to why or what need to be done that we cannot collect our own money, or why is a Panama receiving her own money and Liberia cannot receive her own money. You understand? I misquoted Costa Rica because Costa Rica is not among the first 5 countries when it comes to maritime. And you, Linford, you will be in a position to quote me, that I was wrong. No, you muted, Linford. I'm not hearing you.
Oh, you're saying that Costa Rica is not even on our list?
Yeah, it's not even among the first 20 or the 30. So I was wrong in that. So there were my little bit short for of Mr. Cummings' answer, because he tried to get me to say, okay, if I have the facts, but from one institution to another, and for example, like the Zaderberg, Zaderberg, who is in Liberia now, it is his firm, who is a Jewish American in Liberia. His firm is collecting that money on behalf of the Liberia Maritime Affair. So it's a documentary that the Costa show. I used to follow those days, and I saved that documentary also, and I still got that as a retrospect. Then as to why it said that we cannot collect our own money. And when we got Liberian living in America, we're educated Liberian, what is this? What are these people doing? Or what need to be done differently for us to collect our own maritime money directly? And Mr. Cummings, the question you need to go about why. It's a good question.
With you, Mark.
I'm not saying he should go. I'm not saying he should go and
Mark.
disarm the people to say, okay, we're taking it from you. We're doing it amateur way. You're not collecting our own money again. But why can't we collect our own money? The question.
With you, Mark.
Yeah, Marie.
As a leader, as a leader, most especially the kind of high-rank leadership that Mr. Cummings is running for, campaigning for him to give you such answer to that question, that's a really critical path, because he can't give you an answer. He can't give you an answer to say you're asking a question that thousands of leaders right now. That question should be to Josh Weir, not to Mr. Cummings. Mr. Cummings is campaigning to be the leader for the country, to put all of these things into perspective, and to put all of these things into order. So if he was already running, if he was already the president for the Republic of Liberia, you ask himself, but Mr. Cummings, you've been in office for 1 year, or maybe in your first 100 days. I have a very, 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 very fundamental question that I need answer to, because this will really,
let us not waste a lot of time. This is what I would have done had I been a person in that driver's seat, right? And the question being asked to me. That's a very important question. Make a note and to go about it. Okay, this is a very important question as to why we are not collecting our own money. I'm not asking for a definite answer, because if I be asking Mr. Cummings a definite answer, I would be very, very biased to Mr. Cummings, because he's not in a position. I wasn't asking for a definite answer.
But I believe he took note on it, because he did ask you. The question you asked me, it needs to be backed up with evidence. So I believe he took note on it.
Yeah, and let me just close our whole thing there, Paul, Mark. You know, that is a critical issue. These guys started a company, and they are what is like, you know, what can I say? Sales company. Okay, so they are working on. In fact, there are two departments that are in our entire particular business. Liberia is also responsible for certain part of it. And this guy is not playing that role of being a salesman, and coordinating the whole sales. Okay, the registration part. But Liberia is actually performing there. But the thing here is that my question came in the face that if Liberia could feel responsible enough and negotiate with these people and say, "Oh, listen, we already have certain responsibility in this whole project. So why can't we just take all the registration and everything and do it ourselves?" But it'll be like you also putting those people out of business. So it's a negotiation process. You have to, because that's a business that they do. Okay. But like you said, you're looking into it.
You know what I live for? I shoot myself in the leg. This question actually should have been addressed to Honorable Isaac Jackson, because he was Liberian permanent representative to the Maritime in the UK, and we had him on the show. So he would have been the rightful person to answer this question. If you guys can retrospect and how to call it, Isaac Jackson, we had him on the show.
Yeah, Isaac Jackson was
So
Jima, we got 2 more minutes. You said
okay. Notes. Yeah, just listen. Basically, I think the issue of Mr. Cummings just made, he talked about what Mark asked question. You guys talk about maritime affair. He said he believes in figures and facts, and I think Mayu rightly put it that the question should have gone to leadership and power right now. Why are you doing with our money? Right, Mr. Cummings is saying he will investigate. He doesn't know who is doing what, and he said something we didn't pick it up. He said, "How much if we are benefiting more from it, not only collecting money? It's not about collecting money. If it's to the benefit of Liberians, why worry about that?" So if you look at that from the exact collecting money, we have a lot of contracts going to Liberia right now. Bogus contracts were signed by Liberians who are in charge. Liberians are not benefiting. Probably foreigners are giving the better to us than Liberians themselves. If you listen to Nkila, he says something like that. So those are things we're taking. Not only Liberia being in charge, but do we manage it well? That's another question. So
my question to you, Jamal, if you got bogus contract and your people are not benefiting, what are you going to do about it if you sit in the driver's seat tomorrow? Is that a wrong question?
It's a question that he gave a right answer to. Mr. Cummings told you that he believes in facts and figure. If you ask me as a person, why people do privatize companies, Why they ask Mr. Cummings, I'll talk about remittances, I talk about shipment. Mr. Cummings said Liberians can do it themselves. Government can only help to facilitate. That means you give you the benefit comes to the countries. We all talk about liberalization here. But in the fact that most of us want to get to our own people, but eventually it does not, it won't go to the level we want. We've seen it happening in Liberia right now. At least in the hand of our people, we're not even getting electricity on time. Water is not, we're not having power-borne water on time. So if you go to other people that are running business, people, Liberian business people can manage it. It's not going to have to be in Liberians' hand. Of course, we all call for that. But the fact of the matter that if we don't manage it, well, what do we do? Should we have it happen because Liberians want to manage it? That's another question. The question come back to you, Mark. If you want to go to Liberia, well, it's good to encourage Liberians to
I'll continue to say this. To that question, Mr. Cummings actually gave a political answer. That he doesn't want to just come because this is sensitive. Remember,
Jamal,
during Taylor time, that case went.
Jamal Linford, let me ask you guys a question here. And I'm coming from now interview that I think one of my favorite journalists and the former Greek prime minister. Greek used to be a country, or Greece used to be a country that enjoyed the what you call early retirement at the age of 55 until they were cajoled into joining the EU, and then cajoled as well and took a lot of money from the EU. At the end of the day, the EU bent them over, for which today Greece has gone to 67 pension age, like all the other EU member states. Now, do you think the electricity in a country, the electrical grill, is provided by the country? Do you think private investor should come into that particular area instead of the government selling electricity direct to its citizen? When a private investor that come into that area is not the one that provide the high cable, that is not the one that built the hydro or the nuclear plantation, do you think private investors should be into that area?
You asking us questions?
I'm going to answer that.
I'm asking. Are you asking a question? You paraphrasing somebody's question? If it's a question coming from you direct, I want to go back to you. The electricity you're getting in Sweden right now, is it coming from the government?
I'm paraphrasing a question, and is indirectly coming from me, because I do agree that in a country that the government provides the electricity or the water supply in the country, and that a investor that come in the country, what does the investor produce in the country? Buy the energy from the government, buy the energy from the government, and put more cost on the country, on the consumer.
In the first place, I will answer it in my own way before Jima comes in. It's wrong that the government will own the grill and then partner with what you call it, investor to carry out the electricity project. So if the government can own the grill, why they can sell the electricity themselves?
Direct to the citizen.
In a country like Liberia, anything about government is not respected. They buy a new breaker and give it to the guy. Instead of he putting gas inside to go to work, you will depend on government to put gas inside. When the gas break down somewhere, you leave it there. When the windshield break, you say that government car. They will drive it any kind of way. So government property is not respected anywhere in Liberia. Now, so we're making we're making Liberia a case study. Now, Norway, where I live, I'm not seeing private. I'm not seeing government electricity here. All the electricity, the small hard
are private companies.
Yeah, they are all privately owned. Everything is privately owned.
What I'm trying, Jamal and Maria, what I'm trying to say is that anything that is produced by the government, there's no need for private investors to come into what is produced by the government. Let the government be the direct seller to the because the private investor is not the inventor. Okay,
Mark,
the private investor is not the inventor of that particular technology or that particular innovative idea. Until the private investor will be able to invent that idea and sell to the public, that is consumer, then
I can invest. I can be an investor. If Liberia have a new leader, and the leader has gone on broadcast there's some news about it, that they're welcoming in private investors to go down to Liberia and invest in the electricity, I can do that.
And what are you bringing to the electricity? That's
what I'm bringing the tools. I'm bringing the tools to help the citizens.
Mark.
Okay, let you come in, gentlemen.
Can I ask you something? I want to tell you what I took from Mr. Cummings anyway. Just to give my point on what Mark said. Mark, Quick question to you: the country you live in right now, does the government sell electricity to the citizen?
And then utility for that matter.
Yeah, I'm answering the question now. I'm against, for example.
No, straight the question: is the government of Sweden selling electricity to the citizen? That's the question.
Yeah, I'm against that. The government of Sweden is not selling electricity to the citizen, and I'm against that.
Is it not going well?
Pardon me?
Is it not going well?
It's a form of capitalism.
All right.
I'm against capitalism.
I'm okay.
Capitalism, if you understand how capitalism functions, then the question you're asking me, you will also understand that capitalism also exploit the ordinary citizen.
Your question draws into ideology right here. So I think
Jamal, let me ask you the question. What you call investor, if the government is the one that is producing, what are the nuclear plant that produces the electricity, or the how they call it, the hydro plant that produce the electricity, and the government is the one that produce the high cable line, and the government is the one that produce all the cable line. What is the investor coming with? The investor go to the government.
Do you see the danger?
I come in for please.
Yeah, look at Liberia for a case.
Yeah, please. Just a few seconds, bro. Let me land there. I won't miss my thought. This private investor go to the government, for example. How much are you selling per kilowatt to a citizen? At the end of the day, let's say 50 cents or 70 cents per kilowatt to the citizen. This man go to the government, got somehow they call it lobbyists, because lobbying is another form of bribery that people don't understand. People that are not into the political science environment. Go to the Senate or legislature, lobby these people, and they say, okay, we got some investor. This man go to the government gave him this contract. At the end of the day, if the government used to sell a kilowatt for 16 cents, because this man have already bought this contract from the government, it maintained around start selling from 16 cents to 20 cents, from 20 cents to 30 cents. It's on the citizen. This man is not paying nothing to the government. So that is why I'm against something that is not produced or that was not created by a private person, that is created by the government. Then the government should be the one direct to sell to its citizen. That's my point.
All right. Okay, that's fine. My view on Mr. Cummings, apart from what Mark is saying, I just want to go a little bit out of this. I respect your point, but it has a lot of explanation. We have something to debate on tomorrow, if you like. But that has all.
You know me anytime.
Okay, thank you very much. With the argument, with the point, Mr. Cummings, actually, we've been hearing Mr. Cummings for months, years. He's been outlining his points, the policies and stuff. And the good thing we have a record here is things he's making, like 100 days in office and other things he will do to make Liberia come out of poverty, economic growth in the country, sustainability. Those are points I took for him. And he's been echoing this for years. And the good thing here is we hold him. He's a man who all said that he's a consistent person with what he says, and he keeps to what he says. And the good thing about it also, we will keep this as record. And it's not too far anymore. We will see, and I hope he wins 2020. October 10, and this is what we all wish. And I guess he will deliver. And I know very well it's we created a situation where we were conversational. Mr. Cummings came out to say what he wanted to say, and I think there's nothing new in his statement for me. He's been saying over and over for the past 6.5 years. Mr. Cummings has been here saying the same over. We just it was a reminder to the audience and Liberians. For me, nothing new except you guys took into a different lane. We talk about maritime affairs, which it was really a bit of new to him. And he said he wanted to do investigation or else. Everything he said was on to point and he was spot on. And I think I like what he said. I think we should hold him to his word and see what happens when he takes over.
He's a very laid back. He's a very laid back leader.
Yeah,
very laid back leader. Mark is a very laid back leader, and I believe he gave you the right political answer. We have to bear in mind, Mr. Cummings' background is in business. So the way he sees Liberia as a business entrepreneur, as a business leader, most especially he being all the way up the hierarchy as an executive for Coca-Cola, he has flying around the world, and he's seeing that his country is crying. And you can see Mr. Cummings is not greedy. You can see he's not even hungry. He just relaxed. Answering all of the. This is my second time. He's not hungry. He's not hungry like these leaders that is in Liberia right now.
Marie,
he cared genuinely for Liberia, and that's what I want to say.
Yeah, well, I think we'll have to bring this into our end, and
Yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry.
but
Yeah,
I mean,
we have to bring it to an end.
if you follow, for example, linguistically, I said I put my head on the chopping board, and Mr. Cummings is not somebody. Believe me, it's not somebody who just talk the talk, but he walked the talk. That's the reason I follow Mr. Cummings. Mr. Cummings is someone who walked the talk. He's not somebody who just talk the talk. But these questions and where Mr. Cummings sometimes. Mr. Cummings, one thing about Mr. Cummings, on few occasions, Mr. Cummings is somebody who believes in what they call diversity, okay? So do not be afraid to ask Mr. Cummings or when you disagree with Mr. Cummings. And that's what's going to make Mr. Cummings a good leader. Oh, why is he saying he disagree with Mr. Cummings? Mr. Cummings is not infallible. If we want to sit there and make Mr. Cummings to be somebody infallible, then we will be encouraging Mr. Cummings to go the wrong way. Then tomorrow, finger will be pointed to us.
No, I don't think anybody had ever attempted here.
No, Linford, it just.
Yeah, I agree. I know you
figurative.
Yeah, you speaking in tongue. Let me put it that way. But yeah, let me say that the interview or
on the bottom line, we don't speak in tongues, darling.
Yeah, but we have to speak. We have to sometimes use some figurative term or metaphor. Sometimes
the entire program was good. Mr. Cummings was on time, and the 1 hour and 30 minutes mark, we passed 7-8 minutes, of course, because of the telephone call and all the stuff. But I think it was good, and we held it to the point. Nobody swayed around or doing something else, but it was good, and that was professional. So I want to say thank you to all of you, but most importantly, our viewers. Share this video after we close. You can go back to the video. If you join us in the middle, you can go back to the video and listen to it again when you are at work, you are at home, and whatever. And always make it your business. We come on every Tuesday and Friday here on the bottom line. If you live in the US, it depends where you live. If you live on the East Coast, I think it's around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And if you're in Liberia, it's 7 o'clock. If you're anywhere in Europe, Central Europe, it's 9 o'clock, except for the UK, which is 8 o'clock. So I want to say thank you, guys. And the time is fast spent. It's after 11 o'clock. So we hit the 2 hours mark. And we hope to be here on
Jamal, I come and fight in the background so you guys can
we hope to be here on Friday, and we hope we can get our guests on Friday. And the Friday edition is not normally like the political team. We can sometimes bring ordinary people. If we get musicians or whoever we will find, we'll bring them here, and let's make the platform more Liberian. And I understand that Mr. Francis Mensah, who is also a guest panelist here, was elected president of EFLA. Probably will draft Francis here one day to see what he has in store for Liberians in Europe. As you know, the platform is a European platform. We want to make it broader. And so, Mr. Mensah, be putting your package together. You see, we all here, the guys are ready to drag you and to quiz you. So we hope we can bring you here one day. And we also were able to, the reason why Norway was not represented in Holland during the July 26th and the EFLA election is that we, including me, we also changed our leadership. The leadership that was just changed, ourselves from that leadership as Secretary General, we were there for 11 long years, and everybody kind of wanted us out. Not that we did bad, but somebody want to taste the power too. So we were successfully voted up, and we also had a new leader. And probably one day we'll bring him here too, and let's hear his plans.
We'll charge you for this announcement you're making. It's not part of the program.
No. I'm opening the
You're trying to bring me on one of your Friday program on general discussion.
I'm trying to open the platform up to people, to a broader European group, So
all right.
Well,
big congratulations to Mr. Francis for being elected as the EFLA. That's the what? What is EFLA stands for? Most of our listeners won't follow.
EFLA is the European Federation of Liberian Association. So if you see, the E is European, the F is Federation, the L is Liberian, and the A Association. So meaning that if there's a Liberian Association in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, EFLA is an umbrella organization for all of them, the big brother.
Right.
So
most of the EFLA leadership, they are anti-CPP. So
but they want a personal political thing, but let's say this is how we're going to end the show this evening. Jima, can you find that I left my business? That man, I mean, poor business, poor and fun. I'm a long time or Charlie, but Jima
still. Charlie.
But you just gave a closing. I mean, statement.
What do you want?
Other people.
Okay, man, close. If you want close, after you finish closing, you after all
they got a real, how they call it, Gaddafi, my man.
Okay, close, my man.
No. You said it on behalf of every one of us.
You see that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Marie, you been away for a long time.
So I know, right? Close? Like seriously, super. I've been super busy, like really busy. I'm on holiday now.
You see
so
that?
I'll come on the show.
If all you be busy, the show will not go on. You got to find time to come. So
no, I'm coming. I'm coming.
AK on the beat.
Charlie Bronson, you mad,